Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Babeș-Bolyai University. I can see that we have a full house today. We have people even upstairs. Normally the choir is sitting upstairs, but now stay relaxed. We will not ask you to perform anything during this opening. My name is Alexandra Muțiu. I'm the Vice Rector responsible with HR, counseling students and alumni. I'm an economist and also a psychologist, and I will open today's conference in the name of our Rector, Professor Daniel David. My duty today is to offer you a glimpse of who we are through the lenses of our core values, as you can see, tradition and academic excellence. With the longest history in the tradition in the country, our history goes back in 1581 when marking the foundation of the Academia Claudiopolitana. It was Claudiopolitana because by that time Claudiopolis was the name of this city. And the academy had two faculties, a faculty of philosophy and theology, and they were teaching in Latin by that time. And they were offering titles of baccalaureus, magister, and doctorate. After that, Academia Claudiopolitana evolved in the 18th century into the Universitas Claudiopolitana, a more complex institution formed by 4 faculties by that time. It was philosophy, theology, law, and medicine, and teaching was done in Latin and German. After that, in the 19th century, the Academia Claudiopolitana evolved into the Hungarian Academy, and the teaching was done only in Hungarian. And after that, in the last step, in the 20th century, they formed the Romanian University. This is why we want to mark these 4 steps of our history. This is why we are valuing a lot tradition, because we respect our predecessors and we respect what they have done for this university, and that's why we respect tradition and multiculturalism. As you probably know, at Babeș-Bolyai University we have 3 official languages, is Romanian, Hungarian, and German. Of course, we are running program in many other languages, but these 3 are the main official languages of the university. Related with the academic excellence, I want to present you some key metrics related with this. We are the biggest university in Romania in terms of number of students. We are having annually about 50,000 students enrolled from the license level to the executive education in all of them. And we are offering about 500 programs in different languages, Romanian, Hungarian, German, English, French, Spanish, and so on. I will not continue this list. The university has 22 faculties and 31 doctoral schools, and we are the most comprehensive university in Romania because we have a very complex academic profile from art and humanities, social science, natural science, life health science, engineering, and technology. And this gives us a unique perspective to approach innovation from a STEAM perspective and also allow us to run InfoB BioNano for Health, which is an open platform, an open research center for our researchers and for all the researchers who would like to join, run by the Star Institute in Babeș-Bolyai University. Lately, we developed a postgraduate program for behavioral integrative medicine, where we are running 3 sections on mental health, internal health, and public health, with also transversal sections in biotechnology, big data, and biomedical ethics. Some key metrics about the rankings and who we are in terms of research. In the last 7 years, we were ranked by the first university in Romania by our national meta ranking, but also according to the Leiden international ranking, we are ranked the #1 university in Romania, and we are the only university in Romania who received the grant of being a world-class university. We received 5 stars from the QS, which is fantastic for us. We are also part of diverse international alliances and networks, and I will mention here only 2, which is Utopia, an alliance of 10 universities in Europe, and also GUILD, which is quite a powerful alliance in terms of research. Related with the cultural aspect, because culture is mentioned there on our presentation, we believe that we should be more socially engaged because we have the capacity of formulate new paradigms in the way of developing the society, and indicate new directions in the development, and that's why we launched Humanities Platform with the aim of bringing social and human sciences out of the shadow cone. This is who we are in few words, and I hope now you have a better understanding of us. And before closing my speech, I want to draw into attention one important fact, which is, I believe, somehow related with the context. Normally, the psychologists, because we have a lot of psychologists in this room, are asking us to connect with the present, to anchor in the now. I will recommend you to connect a little bit with this room, because this room has a history. Of course, the entire building has a huge history, over 100 years old, but some personalities, some iconic personalities received Dr. Honoris Causa in this room, and I will mention only 3 names, which I believe you can relate with them somehow. And the first one was in 2017, was the King Charles III, formerly known as the Prince of Wales, who received Dr. Honoris Causa here in this room. 2 years before him, in 2015, Dean Spillman, former president of European Court of Human Rights, received the Dr. Honoris Causa in this room. And the last one, which is basically, according to the context, the most important one related with what we are doing today, in 2012, the father of cognitive behavioral therapy, Professor Aaron T. Bex, received the Dr. Honoris Causa in this room. He spoke from that table, which we are calling the table of the kings, or the desk of the kings. So if you will have the opportunity to speak from where, remember that some iconic figures were also there. I will end my speech now, but not before mentioning a very important thing. I want to express my gratitude to Professor Laura Visu-Petra, the chair of the conference, whose effort, passion, and determination brought us here today. Thank you very much, Professor Visu, for your hard work you are doing constantly, and I repeat here, constantly, for the university, and for doing a fantastic job in organizing this conference. So with this, I wish you a wonderful time in Cluj, a wonderful time in this conference, and that you have a lot of sparkling ideas for new research projects. Thank you.
Dear officials from the Presidium, dear Vice Rector, dear guests, dear key speakers, dear all, and dear colleagues, please let me say several words on the behalf of Dean Office from Psychology and Educational Science faculty. You are familiar with the fact that we are jointly organizing this event working with our colleagues from the law school. So we address you a very good morning and warm welcome, even though I'm a little bit afraid to say warm. You know, 2 days before it was the warmest, well, hottest day, globally speaking, in terms of temperature. So therefore, maybe in the future we'll address a kind of cold welcome, not a warm welcome in the events like that. And because also I saw the people that they suffer a little bit with the temperature. So we are very proud, honestly, we are very proud that we are able to host here such a wonderful event. We address many thanks to the presidency of the association that, first of all, invited us to be the host, even though the fact with the pandemic forced us a little bit to postpone the event, but finally we succeed to be your host here. So welcome in our faculty now, because welcome from the university was already addressed by our vice rector. Welcome in our faculty. I can say the second largest faculty in the university, because my colleague is here nearby from economics. They are on the first place, but if you take into account the fact that we are also address teaching training for future professors, we are the first in terms of number, sorry for, but not just in terms of number, like our colleagues, we are also, we consider quite visible, not just in terms of number of students or academic staff, also in what we are trying to do or what we have already done. And we'll see, we hope that you'll see. So
competition is good, that's the idea.
Good, even internal one. Okay, thank you once again to European Association of Psychology and Law, because they credited us for the event, and we hope to be online with the accreditation. Thank you to all of you, academics, research practitioners, experts, students, all of you. Many thanks that you decided to be here in our university, in our faculties, because we'll be hosted by several faculties, and many thanks to the other faculty that were able to offer us rooms for the event. Thank you, special thanks to our vice rector. Without any jokes now, we are very proud that not just in economics, she has an expertise also in psychology. She chose to address our faculty several years ago, so we are in a very good position now, having in the leadership position a professor like our vice rector. Thank you, special thanks to the practitioners, not just for the fact that you decide to help us with several workshops and debates that will be organized here, but also because during the years we have the opportunities, we had and still have the opportunities for our students for practical stages, for internship and so on. It's wonderful for us because, you know, most of the time the students accuse us in terms of practical training. So we are very happy that we have the chance in many instances. My colleague, I'm sure that will present many instances, contexts in which we are able to work jointly in order to train our students. So many, many thanks to my colleague, Professor Laura Petre, and her team, because they were clearly hard imply in organizing the meeting, starting even in 2018 when we just waiting for the event. So finally, we really hope that we'll satisfy your expectations and will be happy to join us first in terms of scientific meetings and also in terms of social events. Good luck to everybody.
And now we can give the floor to Diana Boteau, who's talking to us from the Faculty of Law on behalf of it.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As my colleague just mentioned, I am here to welcome you on behalf of the Faculty of Law. which has been developing a collaboration with the Faculty of Psychology ever since 2015. We have a joint master degree together focused on psychology and law, and teachers from both faculty work together in order to prepare graduates that are more aware of the interconnectedness between law and psychology. Also, this project, this common project that we have, and which is gathering more and more students, because more and more students each year choose to enroll in this program, it's also a framework for additional projects, as Professor Opre just mentioned. We have different contexts that put together these graduates with practitioners in law and in psychology. Moreover, these students are taught by professors who sometimes they are also practitioners in either law and psychology. And this engagement in this program of more and more students is just a small sign of the importance and the important relationship between law and psychology that we are more and more aware of. I am happy to be together with my colleagues, the host of this conference, and we wish you all an excellent conference with great insight and wonderful memories.
Thank you very much, Diana. And now from the more familiar side of the table, at least for the EAPL members, you have Professor Hirt Verwege and Professor Julia Korkman, who will tell you more about the EAPL.
Thank you very much, dear Laura. Dear Vice Rector, dear Deans of the Law School and the School of Psychology, dear partners and sponsors of the conference, dearest colleagues and friends, I'm really honored and pleased that I may open this conference of our European Association on Psychology and Law, entitled, and it has been referred to how important it is, Legal Psychology from Research to Effective Practice, and I'm very happy that it is in Cluj. I thank you for being here today, dear Vice Rector and Deans, and for your support in bringing us to Cluj, and for your hospitality that we immediately experienced already when arriving here. And in a way that both deans, the Dean of the Law School and Psychology, are here today, and the fact that the Vice Rector is also an economist and a psychologist, it triggers me to focus explicitly to one of the challenges of the next decade, and that is to foster and facilitate multidisciplinary research in general, and for us as an association to bring the combination of psychology and law in research and practice really to live in order to contribute optimally to make our world a more just environment for all living creatures. It makes me also very happy that we can again meet in person after 3 years. It is heartwarming to see so many of you again here in Cluj. Secondly, I want to express my great gratitude to the organizer of the conference, dear Professor Visu, dear Laura. What a journey it was. We started already in 2019. You would welcome us immediately after the first pandemic strike, and then we have to postpone. You were willing to suffer the stress of will we organize, will we postpone, together with us, and not only once but twice. And it was, in a way, it was a pleasure that we had to go that journey with you. Thank you for your patience, first of all, and your perseverance, secondly. And what a program did it It strikes my imagination, how many contributions from all of you, and how difficult it has to be, and it was for you to organize all these presentations and all these contributions in a 3-day program. I think the program is rich and promising. It is diverse and original, and linking research to practice. So it has many components. So congratulations to you and your team, and I cannot wait to get really started. However, I want to express my hope also that this encounter can take place in a safe climate of mutual respect, of boundaries and positive collegiality, where we make each other stronger and help each other and everyone to thrive. So I really hope that this encounter may help us all to grow as scientists and as colleagues. Secondly, I want to extend my gratitude to my colleagues, board members of the association. The past 3 years were determined by COVID, where we have been confronted with the fact that a live conference would not be an option. Although we all know that our conferences are at the heart of our association in terms of sharing thoughts and insights and keeping up our relationships. It was a pleasure to experience the drive and creativity of all the colleagues in the board, to positively take up the challenge to stay in touch with you. This resulted in different successful, for example, online meetings, where we could share research findings and keep contact. The feedback we received was very stimulating. A second initiative that was born the past years was that of white papers. And we still wait for the first white paper, and we decided that we would not stress ourselves, but that quality comes first. And I can guarantee you, the people of the board and many of you who contributed, it was really a trajectory. It was a huge enterprise, and it will lead to success. So, and in this way, I am also very pleased that our association will help practitioners in order to optimize practice for the most vulnerable people in the justice system, namely the children. We focused on interrogation of children. What is also important is that we directed our attention to the statutes and the finances. It was born out of a concern for the future of the association. We had still not a legal entity, and we are in the midst of creating such a legal entity so that our future is guaranteed in a way, financially and in terms of the statutes. And what is important, I think, in terms of the statutes, is that our students became full members. We don't make any distinction any longer between students and members and full members and whatever members. We are all members of this association. And one of the advantages is that we can still treat the students with respect in terms of the fees and in terms of activities. So I think that is very important for the association as well, and for the future of the association, that the students really have a voice that counts as strong as other members in the past. And finally, we are revising the criteria for the career rewards. And this means that for this year, we will not award the career awards. So, because we are still working on it, and we want to do a good job. In the past years, there were some doubts about these awards, and if they are still in line with the time that we are in, and so we are working on that. All colleagues of the board were involved in different ways, different teams, different times and activities. And I really feel privileged that I had the honor during my presidency to work together with such a motivated and skilled group of colleagues. It was a pleasure to be your chair. And I now give the floor to the upcoming president of our association, my dear and esteemed colleague, Dr. Julia Korkman.
Thank you so much, Geert, and I want to also express my gratitude to our hosts and organizers. And I'm thrilled to see all of you, and so many of you, here finally. If my count and data is correct, then this is the 27th live conference, but of course someone might want to do a replication because I might be wrong here. The first EAPL conference, as I've learned, took place in 1988 in Maastricht, the next in Nuremberg in 1990, and there it was decided that the EAPL would be founded. And I think we have some members who were there at the time, still here today. The EAPL was then officially founded at the third conference in Oxford in 1992. I'm not going to continue with all the remaining conferences, but that's a part of the history. And in addition, of course, to these 26 live conferences, we have now had 2 very successfully organized online conferences in 2020 and 2021, as well as a series of shorter online events in 2022. Most of you have attended at least some of those. And I would say that while the pandemic, of course, has taken its toll in many ways, which are known to us all, I think for the EAPL it actually also gave us many good aspects. We got quite a good heritage from it. One was these virtual conferences, which I think really were successful and very well received, and of course have the added benefit of many such members being able to participate who might not have had the chance to travel. And do note, by the way, that many of the presentations from the first virtual conference are still online on the members area, so you can go and look at the videos and you can use them, I think, in training. So there's a really good source of information there. The same goes for the short online events or the smaller online events in 2022. They are also available for all of you EAPL members. So that's one of the added benefits. And as Geert mentioned, and as many of you know, we also started the first white paper, and although it's been a rather slow journey and not entirely without its obstacles, it's been really fun and really, I would say, stimulating and having so many colleagues participate. So we now have a paper with 35 authors from this organization, which is hopefully being published, and we will not at this conference have an event about the white paper. We decided to move it to an online event when we know it is now accepted for publication, and then we can talk about what to do more concretely, how to make sure the message is meant for public, for policymakers and for practitioners, how we can make sure that it reaches the intended audience in our various countries and hopefully in our various languages. And we already have thoughts about upcoming, maybe not entirely similar white papers, but collective recommendations on different topics. We already have gotten some suggestions from many of you, and I do encourage you, if you have themes you think we should write, like these collective statements on, please mail us, mail me or mail the board. That's maybe the best, then the whole board gets it. The email address is on the web page. But what is board@eapl.eu? It's not difficult. Even I remember it. These child interviewing recommendations are not at all surprising to those who know or who know the research on child interviewing, but they are really needed in Europe today. There are many practices going on that would benefit from taking them into account. So I feel very warmly for these. Today, we have 261 EAPL members. And yesterday, I learned from Laura that more than 250 people are attending this conference, so that's quite successful, I would say. And it's, of course, also a sign that people really missed meeting up in real life, in spite of all the nice online gatherings. For many of our members, the conferences are really a unique opportunity to get support and to find collaborators, and it's a source of enthusiasm that maybe helps us cope with burdens of administration and deadlines and nasty reviewers through the rest of the year. And I do want to remind everyone that many of our members are from countries where there are no huge research groups or labs. They don't have 3 professors to supervise them. So here is really, this annual meeting is where many members can get support that they are maybe not able to get in their own context. So this is for all of us to keep in mind and make sure that we have this in mind. And another thing I think we have to have in mind is that one of the most important aspects of a scientific conference is to have critical discussions and give critical and constructive feedback to others. That's, I think, the best gift a researcher can get. But be mindful that many of our presenters are presenting for the very first time, probably not in their own native language, so do it gently and, and with constructive criticism, and remember to point out the positive things. I was telling Linda the other day that I remember when I was doing my first international presentation in 2004 at a very small Nordic legal psychology meeting, and I was dying of nervosity, and at the end of the speech, Professor Per-Anders Granhag, who is also a former president of this association, said, "Bravo." I still remember it, as you can see, so these positive words do count. They are remembered. One final remark for our native English speakers: be mindful that many members are not native speakers, so try to keep that in mind when you present and when you comment. Then on a personal note, I also want to say it has been a tremendous joy to be part of the board, and also here with the board I think the pandemic left a good heritage in that. My understanding is that previously the board met once a year at these meetings and maybe communicated by email before that, like between the meetings. Now we've met every month, and I do think it enables us to come much further and really think more thoroughly what we want to do. And it's been very much a pleasure, and I would also like to just briefly ask the board members, when I tell your names, to stand up so everyone can see who is the board members now after all these years of absence. Of course, Geert Verwake you already heard from, and when we have our wonderful past president, Renate Wolberts, who now has served her 9-year term. And our wonderful Linda Kieven, secretary, as you all would know, I guess. And our eminent treasurer, André Körner. Then we have board members Jana Otsika and Narcisa Prodan, who is also among the organizers, so double applause. We have 2 absent board members, or 2 who could not be here today, Kate Miller and Joan Rechdan, who just started as the website person. And then we also have a nominated ombudsperson, Julia Shaw, who there you are. So we are really encouraging those of you who feel you have been treated in a way that is not correct, or have other concerns of that kind, to reach out to Julia. You can do it here in person or via email, ombudsperson@eapl.eu. You can certainly also come and talk to any of us in the board. I think we calculated yesterday that we speak, I think, some 10 languages rather well within the board, so if you want to speak in another language than English, you might have a good chance. We'll do our best. And I will also want to warmly welcome our new president-elect, Timothy Luke. And now finally I will hand over the word to our wonderful Laura, minunat Laura. Mulțumesc foarte mult. Thank you so much.
Cu plăcere. Welcome everyone, and since in the context of multitasking of the past days I can no longer rely on my working memory, I have prepared a short presentation, and I will now move towards a little bit of a pressure, since it was called the Table of Kings, and I was thinking, since we have less and less queens these days, there is a bit of a chance that it won't ever get gender balanced, but I will still move in that direction. A mission of bridging a little bit what we've experienced as members of the EAPL and now as organizers of the conference of this year, to which we are heartwarm welcoming you. First of all, thank you to the Vice Rector of the university and to all the previous speakers for being here today. You have to know that there was an overlap these days between the thesis, the undergraduate thesis and dissertations, and also the conference, so that's why it's a little bit busy and sometimes a little bit crowded. And there is also the under construction aspect, which might trouble you a little bit, but we think you will all find your way. Before beginning, I would like to invite the people who are at the back. You can find seats here. We will also move there after, so don't stand. There will be a keynote right after, so you are welcome to come on this side, unless you prefer to stand, of course. Until I open the presentation. So I want, as my predecessor speakers have already done it, I would like to, thank you very much. I would like to wholeheartedly welcome you to Cluj-Napoca. It is both literally and metaphorically called the heart of Transylvania. I hope some of you have booked some additional days here, either before. I've heard that some of our colleagues even went to the Jazz in the Park festival, which I think was pretty good. And probably some of you, I know, will stay a little bit longer, so you will get to see a little bit more of the area and discover it. And those of you who will join us on Saturday for the trip will certainly discover at least a little bit more of the wonders of our area. As you've heard before, and here is just a snippet of what has happened before, there is a great tradition of very soulful conferences organized by the EAPL. And through our own previous interactions, we took a little peek. We got a lot of useful tips and tricks. And here is, I think, the first conference that we've attended in Coventry. And here is the last one in person, which was in Santiago de Compostela in 2019. And after that, there were the online events, and one was simply postponed. This year's topics, as you've probably heard, is from research to effective practices. And I think if you just take a look through the program, that you see the abstract book on the website and the program that you have in your materials, you will see that is really quite strongly reflected in the topics of the symposia, of the keynotes. And we have asked the keynotes to somehow challenge you with this interplay between practice and fundamental research in the topics of the symposia and the presentation, but we also want to introduce two more dedicated types of events. One will be a roundtable on July 6th on assuring the quality of forensic expertise in legal psychology, and you will hear about some legal systems that can be inspirational for some of us, and again, it can be a source of ideas for our system as well. And what we managed to achieve was also to organize 5 expert debates, which will take place in the Faculty of Psychology. And they are open, and they will promote a sort of unprecedented dialogue, because we have invited their judges, prosecutors, probation officers, people who work in prisons, not just psychologists, but them as well, social workers, and I think it will be an extraordinary dialogue that will ignite some important changes, we hope, also in the legal system here. So that is important for us as an achievement. The idea, as you've heard before, to organize the conference in Cluj has quite a long history, so long that even the name has become a little bit blurry over time. But I think we can stick to Cluj for simplicity, so it won't be too difficult. The beginnings, we have to give credit where it's due. I think we're somewhere in 2013, around the time of the conference in Coventry, when afterwards we invited Professor Bull, who's joining us today here, and we established a stronger contact with the association. He delivered several workshops for practitioners and for students here. He was invited, I think, at least twice, probably 3 times. And then we got started with our own legal psychology master, which is going on and is attracting more and more students from 2015. And I think we have we were so lucky this year to have one of the most involved students all throughout the years, and you will see them, a lot of them as volunteers here at the conference. And they even wanted to organize their own trip throughout the country to meet legal practitioners. They are very, very active and very, very, let's say, involved in their own professional development. This is our first meeting back in 2019, when we thought the conference would be in 2020, then in 2021. And then when I was announcing that it might happen in 2022 during the virtual discussion that we had here, I was starting to have a little bit of metaphysical questions. And you have heard here about the topic of the conference, one of the main topics which will be child interviewing. Another one will be deception. There will be a lot of talks on this topic. And I remember the song by this spoken poetry artist who was questioning whether a lie is really a lie if you mean it at the time. We really meant it every time we promised to organize the conference, and it was not a broken promise, so I don't think it qualifies by our standards as a lie. And as a proof to you, we are here today. We thought, and here is an anticipated apology to those of you who might receive a little bit different materials. We were counting on 170 to 200. We ordered all the materials to be 200, because we thought that's the maximum we could get to based on the number of presentations. And then we reached this number of participants that was updated yesterday. So we are a little bit overwhelmed, but we hope that with your support and understanding, we will be able to host all of you and to make everything happen as smoothly as possible. We have, in the end, we had 206 presentations, including the Romanian expert debates, 5 keynotes, 14 symposia, a lot of interest for oral presentations. We were quite overwhelmed and impressed with the interest for that. We have the Blitz session, which will focus more on targeted studies, poster presentations that we welcome you to, and the roundtables that I've already mentioned. Very important here, and my colleagues told me to try to reinforce this idea. Of course, for the symposia chair will be in charge with time, and we really, really ask them to make a note and somehow signal to the presenters that they are getting closer to the end of their time. But during the oral presentations, the Blitz presentations, we will have to sort of self-organize. So we will ask either the student who's there responsible or a person who's delivering a presentation to do the same thing, to signal to the presenter that the time's almost up, because as you will see, it's a very tight schedule. And that's great news. The organizing committee, here are my colleagues who dedicated a lot of time to coordinating and organizing all these committees. And of course, we needed them because there was a lot to do for each of them. And I would like to point out with a great thanks, Lexi, who's just a first-year PhD student and yet managed to organize in an amazing way all the volunteers. I don't know how much she slept last night, but she's here. So thank you, Lexi. And then there are the volunteers who dedicated a lot of time to organizing the conference. So we asked them to monitor a little bit, and some of them have done 70 plus, 100 plus hours into it. And then we have some new volunteers who are joining us specifically during the conference or right before it. And some of them are EAPL members as well, so we are very happy to have them here. Here they are preparing the materials for you during the weekend. And I will tell you that along the way, it often felt a little bit like a Sisyphean work, which is probably good preparation for academia, I think. And yeah, it felt like we got stuck. Here is just a snippet, and I deliberately let it be blurred, of the people we called, just asking them to sponsor us in various ways. And the 2 columns are emails or phones. And all of them have been asked in such a nice way, and yet we didn't get a very supportive response. And the abstract book has been revised so many times, and many of you know that you've sent us all sorts of reviews and changes to it, and I think it's just example of this kind of work that seems to lead nowhere, but actually it got us here, and I think we are very happy. The main supporters of the conference are definitely you, so there is no way around it. Thank you for being here. Without you, the conference wouldn't be possible. And of course, it's a very, very big thank you to all of you who signed up for the conference and who made it here. Then we have a great support from the university. You will visit, as you will hear here, the rooms of the university, and we hope you will find them as enchanting as this one. And also from the Department of Psychology and the Department of Law, and the Reader Lab that I'm coordinating has been very involved in organizing. And also from the partners, we are happy to have 2 NGOs, AEVDAS and the Association of Romanian Association of Cognitive Science, who supported us a lot, and the Faculty of European Studies, who were kind enough to just place their thesis and undergraduate dissertations elsewhere to give us the great rooms we will have in the other place, which is also very close. A heartwarm thank you to the sponsors who helped us logistically and financially. And finally, the program you saw is very packed, and it's very important, as I said, to keep the time. We try to put the links for all the locations, and it's very important, at least for we will ask you to wear the badge all the time, visibly, but very important for the dinner. You have to bring, I don't have them here, but all of you have those tickets which have different colors. The one who signed up for dinner, we are overbooked for that one as well. So sadly, we cannot give any more seats for the dinner, but please bring them, especially if there are restrictions, because we have to place them on the table, so just don't lose them. And if you do lose them, tell us in advance. It's very important to have them for the dinner. And without further ado, I will just thank you one more time and hope we will have very stimulating talks during the conference. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and we wish you a wonderful conference.